what we're going to do. We're going to start by explaining why listening is so important. We're going to introduce you to the concept of active listening. We're going to show you what's stopping you from listening. And finally, we're going to show you how to improve your listening, what you can actually do after this call. So first, why is listening important? When we first hear about this, I've already alluded to how this affects predominantly the idea of romantic relationships in our lives, but it's everything else. It really is. Anybody you know, if you're trying to get to know them, it is massive, because if you cannot understand and connect with someone on an intellectual, mental, spiritual level, how are you going to be able to grow? How are you going to be able to show love and be loved by that person? How can you come together in an efficient way where you both get what you want? This is key for listening. All right, so I've already mentioned listening is an action. It is not passive. So what exactly is active listening? Active listening means being deeply engaged in and attentive to what the speaker is saying. You are really trying to the best of your ability to understand them, not just hear what they had to say, not just give them time to talk and then reply. You are simply trying to listen, observe their thoughts, understand where they're coming from, and either help that person or give them a chance to vent, knowing that you've done everything you can to connect with them. Well, a lot of things can actually get in the way of active listening. I think some of the most obvious things are distractions, very surface level. You know, you got your phone in your hand, there's a TV on in the background, there's a million things going on in your head, because maybe meditation and silencing your thoughts or journaling are not a part of your day-to-day basis, which I would highly recommend if you want to get better with listening. As Jordan Peterson puts it, if you want to learn to be able to to think clearly, practice reading and writing. And that way it allows you to verbalize and truly understand the meanings of why people choose certain words. Just the other day, I had somebody continuously tell me that they understood me, but they failed to grasp the difference, the nuance in a couple of different words. And we've had great conversations, and I'm actually encouraging that person to look into listening and to go further into this. So this is very important work. Everything that gets in the way of active listening, whether it's the phone, the regular distractions, I call these things just blockers. There's something blocking you from connecting with the person around you. Those are external distractions. But there's also a lot going on internally that you may not be aware of that could be affecting the way you connect with and listen to those that are important to you. This internal stuff comes from the fact that we did not evolve with the idea of having such a stable, secure world to grow up in. We evolved through the process of fight or flight and survival mode. We were constantly wondering, where am I going to get my next meal? How am I going to survive the night? What's my food, my water, my shelter? Another one that's so important is we're constantly being worried that we're going to get kicked out of the tribe. We're going to be kicked out on our own, going to have to defend for ourselves, be abandoned. So we have naturally developed all of these things that internally go on when someone else is talking to us that actually get in the way of us listening to them. Let me explain, give you some examples. You might notice that when someone's listening to you, you're probably already thinking, is this person right or wrong? You might even be thinking right now, who's this guy talking to me about listening? Do I agree or disagree? Who is this guy? Like, just making all kinds of things. But are you actually attempting to understand what I've got going on? Another thing that comes up, have I experienced this or not? Is this a popular opinion for them to be saying? Is this mainstream? How should I be viewing this person's opinion? Should this be wrong? Is this right or wrong? And then finally, you might be formulating a response while someone is still talking to you. Now, if you're in a high stakes debate, maybe that's important. But if you're trying to connect with somebody at home, at work, if you're trying to work with business partners to make sure everything you get is actually achievable, man, you've got to be able to identify these internal processes and root them out. Blockers that happen while you respond to them after they're, said their 2 cents. Providing unsolicited advice. Someone shares or opens up. One of the worst things you can do is just come in there and provide unsolicited advice. It will totally put a damper on someone wanting to come back to you again. Ask them. Multitasking while you respond. Obviously, if you're on the phone and you're doing something else or you're at work, you're not really giving someone the power, like the priority. And that really can affect if someone wants to communicate with you and connect with you again. Verbalizing judgment towards that person. We all judge. It's just a question of how good we are at rationalizing through that and remembering that we don't know everything. But those are some of the things that block you while someone else is talking and when you respond. So here's what you do to improve your listening. 1, silence your mind and your judgment. When you catch your mind drifting away, truly experiencing what the other person is saying, understanding it, listening to them, paying attention to the word choice, the tone, the body language, all of that. When you catch yourself distracted, thinking about what you got to do later on, calmly bring yourself back. If you need to, just a reminder, it's totally okay to ask somebody to repeat something. They are going to be excited because they're like, oh man, this guy is actually trying to listen to me, so much so that if he got lost or had a question, he's asking me about it. Great. So silence your mind and your judgment. By the way, meditation and journaling helps a lot for this. 2, you can reframe what they said in your own words to ensure that you understood them correctly. 3, note nonverbal cues, like I said earlier, body language, tone, emotion. And 4, visualize. The most powerful thing on the planet is your imagination. Visualize what they are describing to you from their eyes based on their experiences and knowledge. Paint a picture in your mind. It will allow you to remember it. It will allow you to empathize with them and truly connect with them at a deeper level than you have in the past. Visualization is probably the most important one here. Finally, my personal experience on this. I have been classified as ADD or ADHD by a lot of my friends. Call it whatever you want. I don't really care. My mind just simply activates. If left unchecked, my mind will bounce all over the place. I could be talking to somebody about one thing, and next thing you know, I'm thinking about this crazy sci-fi thing, or just this client that I'm working with. Who knows? So when I recognize this, I've spent a lot of time working on it to where I bring myself right back. It's why I'm able to listen to people and speak with them and engage and help them connect and grow, because I've worked on my listening. Finally, I would say at this point, opinions, judgments, my beliefs being triumphant over others, or me being right and them being wrong is such a silent thing now, to where it's almost non-existent. I am still human. But if you ever experience any of these blocks of, oh my gosh, like I must be right, or if you're hearing, but you're not actually listening to me, please take a moment, go back through this, digest this video, and feel free to reach out to me. So the very last thing I want to say here is a tip that has been exchanged with a couple friends of mine. When you are listening to somebody, ask them before you respond in any other way, are you hoping to vent right now, or are you hoping to problem solve?
Talking about something that I think is super key for all of us to really learn and understand in any facet of life, in any area, it's listening.
I'm here to introduce you guys to the fact that listening is not a passive thing.
One of the best ways I believe that we can make someone feel special and important is to listen to them.
Lit number 1. Ask someone to repeat if you didn't hear. I thought that was a gem right there.
When you are listening to somebody, ask them before you respond in any other way, are you hoping to vent right now, or are you hoping to problem solve?
What is active listening?
Active listening is 2 things. It's managing the external things, your body language, your eye contact, etc. And the internal piece is just filtering out, recognizing that the human condition involves all of these questionings and judgments.
Even though I am listening and taking in and allowing that person to vent or get out what they need to say, I feel like there's still a limit to like how much I'm listening and taking in things.
Listening is a choice.
Listening is a choice.
Welcome to the good life.